Hello and welcome back to Art Laughs. I'm Verity Babs and today I spoke to Matt Hobs. I'm here today with Matt Hobs. Matt, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Matt Hobs. I'm a comedian from Oxford, or originally from Bristol. I do silly comedy and comedy about science as well.
Well, I've taken you over to the dark side of the
Yeah,
humanities today, and you have chosen, I'm going to say like a figurine.
yeah. I picked this one. The artist is Jessica Harrison. They're little, like the statues that you might find in like a nan's cupboard, or
Yeah,
like
little porcelain dolls.
yeah. And I saw them at that Disneyland thing that Banksy did in Weston. And it really struck me. There's like one of those dolls, but they got loads of like full, like those full kind of almost, what would you, like a Victorian kind of novelty act of completely covered in tattoos.
Mm.
And I really, like, it really struck me when I saw them. I did that silly thing of, I saw all these porcelain statues and I was like, I want one of them. And I looked online and like, it didn't say, it was one of those things of, if you need to ask how much they are, you cannot afford one.
Yeah.
But it's I have a print of that and it's the only art I own.
I think these are brilliant. I saw them at Disneyland as well. How did you like it?
So I really liked it. I'm not, I mean, this, I shouldn't open with this on an art thing, but I'm not a great one for art. I'm not really that engaged with art, but I think with the kind of Banksy stuff, suddenly I felt like there was some art that was meant for me, if you know what I mean. I'm meant to be the audience for it. The one thing I really liked about Disneyland, and this isn't really on the topic, but it was, so I'm from Bristol. I used to go to Weston quite a lot. It's at the old Tropicana, which was always closed down. So there was like an urban legend that it closed down because someone died on a slide, I think. And I was like, I want to see what's going on in there. And the fact he turned it into like a dystopian Disneyland was great. It was just how I imagined it.
And that's a big thing, I think, talking about Banksy's work more widely, is that I think that if you ask lots of people who would put their hands up and say, you know, not really fussed about art, not really my realm, they'd say, but I do like a Banksy, because there is this element of, you know, it's conceptual but not too conceptual. It's in the public space, so you can go and see it and you don't have to pay, you know, loads of money to go and see it behind a museum door. And especially with Disneyland, because the tickets for people who live locally were much cheaper, and you know, it felt properly, you know, accessible, especially if that is not your arena at all.
Yeah, and like, I think that one of the things I'm quite conscious about talking about Banksy now is it feels a bit like his kind of his fame's turned a corner, and he's a bit kind of old hat or a bit cliched, or it's a bit like, I like Banksy but nothing else. But it felt quite cool to see those kind of stuff, and it was like I was the audience. And what I really like about it is often his work that isn't straight up graffiti is kind of taking something familiar and a spin on it, which is almost actually, like, I didn't think this at the time or anything, but it's actually kind of like a joke. Like, like, take something that we all know and just a fresh spin on it. Like, I seem to remember there he had like one of those really detailed kind of train sets, but there was like a police chase going on in it, and all this kind of dystopian stuff going on in it. And I really like that kind of just twist on a theme, and that's why I like those statues, because it both makes me feel like nostalgic for like Manan's front room, but also like it's a bit more modern and interesting.
You know, you look at it at first and there's what you expect, and then there is the extra thing, which like Disneyland was full of it. I remember the Cinderella's carriage at midnight but has fallen over, and there's paparazzi there, and it's sort of this almost like Lady Di recreation of, it's always that slight difference. You are a man of science. Has art kind of always felt like very separate to, you know, your day-to-day life, like what you engage in? Because I often find that people say, you know, I don't get art, it's not really part of my life, but then actually they read loads, or they love a certain comic book, or they're really into like interior design or something like that. Is there another area where maybe that feeds in.
Yeah, I think there's loads. I think I just don't get, or it's not for me. Fine art isn't for me. The classical kind of paintings or sculptures. I love reading. I love music. Art in certain contexts, like I'm obsessed with like football shirts. There's a type of art and design that goes in on those things. I just feel like when you say art, it's synonymous with fine art, with portraiture and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, that's all a bit like, I just find it quite boring. It's not, I don't want to like put down what other people are interested in, but the only thing I like about portraits is, do you know when those old pictures and there's like the man of the house and then the kids and the artist is like copy pasted the face of the man onto the kids. I absolutely love that. Yeah. It's just like, I do know kids like often look like their parents, but it's like, no, that little swaddled baby has exactly this man's face. That's the one thing I do like about them. Portraits
of Jesus, where he's entirely able to support his own neck. They're always good. Well up for a laugh with them. But it's interesting you mentioning the football shirts, because in the same way that someone might say, you know, oh, if I could spend hours in the National Portrait Gallery, but they could look at 10 different football shirts from a team over 30 years and go, I see no difference in between these, or they wouldn't understand why someone might collect them, or that they wouldn't get that. Where's the interest in the football shirts come from?
So I think there's an element. I was thinking about this, how I understand it. I think there's an element of kind of, and this sounds a bit pathetic, an element of like cosplay in it. In like, I'm obsessed with all different kind of football from all around the world. So it feels nice to wear something that's like, oh, this is an Argentinian team, or this is, people haven't seen this. And kind of you say about, you know, some people will see a whole kind of generation of the shirts and see no difference. To me, it's like, and I feel a bit like a fashionista. I'm like, but look at the trim. And look at, you know, there's all these tiny little details, which, I mean, that's the one thing that during the pandemic, I found out there's a massive community of people obsessed with football shirts. And it's both cool and terrifying all at once. But first got into football shirts when I was a little boy. It's like my first best Christmas present. I got one and I wore the crap out of it. And it was my favorite thing. I've bought another version of it as an adult. It doesn't quite feel right wearing it now, like this from 30 years ago. But it's just, I think it just engages with me. There's an extra resonance. I love football. It's the thing I'm into.
And I guess in the same way with that interest in football shirts, because it's also a thing that people encounter and use every day. These figurines, everyone's grandmother had these on the mantelpiece. Art that does interest you, whether that be, you know, music, the shirts, this kind of thing, there's an element of it's around me. It's sort of unappreciated stuff.
I think I just do appreciate those things. They're the things I kind of obsess about. I remember all these details as a kid, whereas like I did get taken to art galleries and stuff, but it's kind of that thing. I never felt it was for me. It never felt like like it never felt like it's for me. I never felt like I was right for it. It just, I think I do have that kind of I mean it sounds a bit like, just those things that are around me, those things that are familiar. It sounds a bit kind of homely and like small world, but they're just, it just evokes quite a lot of nostalgia, those kind of things.
And was there ever that same element of like, is this for me with the science world? Because for me, who's not very science wired at all, I wouldn't necessarily say that feels like home to me. So did science sort of feel very different in that respect?
So it always felt like, do you know, and that's what, like, if you pursue something and you get into something, it's because you find something that clicks with you. And science clicked with me. It was logical, methodical. It kind of made sense. It worked with how my brain works. And the one thing I did find is because I went on and did a PhD, and I found like I was good. It all made sense. But then when you get to that level, it was like, oh, I'm at my depth now. So science, I like science, but I realized that there's once you get past a certain level, the day-to-day of science is like just nothing else. It's like for anything to be proficient and to be really good at it, you need to obsess about it. But people who obsess about science, like nothing wrong with them, but it's very intense. It's a really tough world. So the kind of processes fit and worked with me, but it didn't quite feel like home. It didn't quite work for me. But I think that's just, you find your place and the type of person you are, your mindset.
What's interesting about finding your place, because I guess, if you feel completely out of your depth with art, right, you might say, that's just like not it. And there are some people who say, art is completely my thing. Oh, but don't get me started on medieval stuff because I can't be doing with it. Or, they say, but I'm not really into the Renaissance or whatever. You sort of start to break down those blocks and find where home is in the same way we were saying with science. But after a certain point, I'm not so fussed. But with art, it sounds like that there is quite a specific, 2000 to 2000 to 2010, where there's a massive Banksy boom and this kind of stuff is being made, and there's a generation of artists who are looking at what we view as homely and normal but giving it a sort of satirical spin, and that's quite a specific time in art. So it's almost like that might be your next PhD.
Yeah. Well, do you think, if that asks the question of, do you think I like that art because I like it, or because it at a critical time in when I was between like 16 and 26, it was the big thing? So do you reckon it chose me or I chose it?
Oh, interesting. I don't know, because I very similarly, that's my kind of art as well. So I'm like, I've got to rethink my life now, Matt.
Yeah.
Because I do know that there are people who don't like this kind of thing and are only into your pre-Raphaelites or whoever. So those people do exist.
Yeah. Yeah, my theory falls apart because then all old pictures, their whole audience would be dead now. Because
yeah.
It only goes so far. But I was just wondering if it was just like it got like shoved down my throat, and maybe I fell for the hype. But I do like it, but I kind of wonder, because actually sometimes there's that idea of Banksy, he would sometimes play on kind of marketing things or satirize that. And then you do kind of wonder with that kind of thing, do I really think this? Are they messing with my head? Are they just really good at messaging? Maybe I'm getting a bit conspiracy theory about art now.
If you ask anyone who their favourite musician is, it tends to be someone who was big while that person has existed, unless you're one of those people who's like, I was born in the wrong generation, my favourite band are the Beatles, which I guess in the art world equivalent would be, I was born in the wrong generation, ooh, I love some Botticelli.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just thinking about it, like my brothers who are about 10 years older, like, Damien Hirst was a bit more of a thing for them. And that's going back to, I remember my brother had one of those kind of formaldehyde, half a dog's brain in his bedroom.
Oh,
I know. It's like, I think he won it in a raffle, which is mad.
As long as he didn't like make it himself, then we're all good.
Well, he never admitted to that, but we didn't have a dog. We never lost a dog suddenly. But I remember I'd always be afraid to go in. He had cable television in his room, but I'd be afraid to go in because there's just this half a brain looking at me. But yeah, I can still see it quite vividly. I don't know what type of dog it was or anything like that, but it was just, yeah, it was quite big. It couldn't have fit inside a Chihuahua, but who knows? Anyway.
A mystery for another day. But yeah. Matt, thank you so much for talking to me today. Where is the best place for us to follow you and keep up to date with what you're doing?
So if you look on Twitter at Matt Hobs Comedy, or on Instagram, matt.hobs.1. Remember, it's Hobs with one B. because I chose a stage name. It's not my actual name, but I chose a stage name which was really awkward to find.
Thanks so much for watching. You can follow Matt in the ways written below. You can follow me at VerityBabsArt on Instagram, and you can give this channel a subscribe. See you next time.